Now, I don't always dress like this, but when I do, it's typically because we're doing something around the house. It's hot out, it's muggy. I just had shorts on the house, we're shooting some videos. And obviously right here by the house, I do sometimes go out in the woods like this too, but it's comfortable, just slip my feet in these boots. I wanted to talk about early season doe shooting and doe practice, and it's a great tactic for bow hunters. And you know, bow hunting a lot of times is about confidence. I know a lot of people that can shoot some dots at 50 yards and have incredible groups, 60, 70, 80 yards, even 100, but you translate that into the woods and in a hunting situation, and at 20 yards they just go bonkers, and they don't have that confidence developed. And really it's more about confidence. And you could take a confident shooter that is very competent with his bow and keeps 6-inch groups at 40 yards. They're not perfect shooter, but they keep that 6-inch group regardless of whether there's pressure on them or not. So building that confidence, one of the best things you can do, and what I've enjoyed throughout the years, is shooting a doe in the early season. And I can tell you I'm going to do that this year. And it's really, you know, I had some mishaps last year. It seems like every 10 years I go through a bad season, but one of the things that I thought about last year towards the end of the season is, man, I need to go shoot some does in the early season. Now that we've had the Minnesota property for a couple of years, we're building the deer herd a little bit. I think we can afford to take a doe or two here. And rest assured, if we're overrun with does, which I try to manage so we're not, there's a lot of things we do to make sure that we're not, like getting rid of summer food and making sure we have fall cover, make sure we have that fall food. But we're really making our property a welcome invitation for all deer during the hunting season. So when it gets into the early season, we have does, we have opportunities at does, but I want to go into my best rut stands and my best big buck stands to look for those does. So I want to build that confidence. You know, another thing too, I love eating those backstraps early season. We've actually shot a doe, had several people over and ate 2 backstraps in one night on the grill, have a big almost potluck. People bring salad and rolls and whatever else, and what a great early season. I can't wait to do that, let alone the innerloins too. So I want to show you where I think is a good spot to shoot a doe around here and why, and the steps that you should take to make sure that you're not only giving yourself a great opportunity at a doe in the early season, but making sure you're doing so with a minimal amount of impact on your land. So let's go into this corn right here, right by my house. We'll check this out. Now it's probably kind of obvious, but one of the reasons we have the corn around this food plot right here is because it gives the deer the illusion that they're a little bit more hidden, even though our house is right there. Diane watched 8 bucks in February, including Venti, just right from the bedroom window. They cross the driveway right here. So they start to feel really comfortable. We actually have switchgrass that's surrounding this cornfield. Next year it should be 6 to 8 feet high. We have a row of bushes up by the road over here, and then we have this corn. And you can see a big batch of corn right here. What I like about this area is we have the corn for later, and then we have on this side, you can kind of see out here where it's a little bit more green. We just planted that in our WHS blend where we have actually peas, light oats, beans, and we even added some buckwheat here. And then on this side, we have our brassica blend. So we have tillage radish, rape, turnip. So we have that Northwoods Whitetail Sweet Feast brassica blend over on this side. We have the early season candy mixes with the peas. They love those young buckwheat, especially the buckwheat when all the weeds are dying in through September. And they have that fresh young buckwheat. It can be a great early season draw. After the first frost, it's gone. And then we top dress this around Labor Day with 200 pounds of winter rye. So this becomes a great hot spot for deer. And you can see even here where we planted the brassica just a few days ago. See, I used my ultimate no-till where I put the seeds down and then I run the buckwheat over after putting the seeds down, spray it. We applied plot start here, and we're getting great germination. These are this tillage radish right here, these little plants. Here's a rape or a turnip. So, and you can see some that's just germinating right now. We had great rain yesterday morning, so this is really popping. And you see a lot of areas, you see how fast, we just smashed this down a few days ago. You see how fast this buckwheat deteriorates and how quickly these brassica plants are growing within. That seed gets right on the soil because it's stocky. You can see these stalks are well spaced. So they're not shading out. We spray it so it actually breaks it down. And you can see where I just did that 2 days ago. See where it's still that green mat. So within just a few days, this will be brown and crispy like this side. And those seeds that are underneath, you can see a pea right here. That pea's already starting to germinate. There's a little white sprout on there. We have another pea right here. So we have a lot of seeds in here that'll come through. So great early season draw. But what I really like about this is that we have all this standing corn. You can see some of the corn mixed in with the buckwheat right here. And this is how tall that buckwheat was. See, it's crazy. It looks so thick, but it's well spaced, it's stalky, so those seeds get right in the soil. So imagine these deer, especially does and fawns, are coming to feed in this plot, fresh young plot, and it's right by the house. We can get away with a little bit of movement, a little bit of sound, a little bit of scent moving around. But we can put a blind back in some of the corn back here. I would put it so my wind is blowing right back at the pole building, or I could put it on this end and let my scent blow right back at the road. Either way, I can come down the driveway, come down the road. I can get into a spot, put a pop-up blind back here. In fact, there's a little hole right on the other side of the buckwheat mixed with corn right here, just 8 yards back. Clear out a little lane, and then it's only 30 yards across right here. So any doe that comes through this window will give me that opportunity. So it's really key. Now we have easy access, obviously an easy spot to hunt, but where do the deer come from to get here? Well, they come from our woods, right over here. So if we spook out this food plot, it just turns it into a nocturnal plot, which isn't that bad. We're not expecting to shoot mature bucks here. We're expecting this food plot to be that nighttime destination where deer filter into from our woods. After dark, they'll come from across the road, they find this food and they say, hey, I think we'd like to stay because there's good food here. But bottom line is, we're not going back in the woods in some of our small hunting plots we expect to shoot bucks from, our rut stands, our rut morning stands, or evening stands. We're shooting does potentially in the early season, even opening day, where they've established a pattern that early season on quality food sources in an area we can get in and out without spooking them, and then in an area that most of all is not going to destroy our hunting for later. I really don't care if deer get into this food plot after dark during the hunting season, because that means that they were on our property during the daylight, they're feeding somewhere else in one of our other food plots that we have, and then they're coming here after dark. But we can take an opportunity to harvest a doe and not only get some early season meat, some backstraps, have some friends over and have a grilling and swilling party. But again, going back to what a great confidence boost for especially young hunters and old alike. You know, I get nervous when I see a big buck, and that's not a bad thing. I shake. That's why I keep doing it. Man, your adrenaline just is flying off the charts, heart's racing, and one way to settle down and build some confidence is to take an early season doe where appropriate in your area. Now, if you're trying to build a deer herd, you don't have a lot of deer, the worst thing you can do is shoot a doe. And so you really have to make that educated guesstimate on what's appropriate for the management of your property. But really cool to be able to take that opportunity. And then that gives you that great confidence when you're going in later in the season and you're drawing back on that buck. And that'll be in your head, boy, I made that great shot on that doe and everything worked out. And I can tell you, and I know for me, for my personal, I still shake when I shoot a doe, especially afterwards. There's still that adrenaline rush. But it's not, they call it buck fever for a reason, not doe fever. And so I urge you to, especially if you're a younger hunter, especially if you're like me and you had a little bit messed up season last year, you really take that opportunity and time to potentially take the opportunity to shoot a doe in the early season, build that confidence, do it in an out-of-the-way place, in a location, get in and out without spooking deer. And not only will you be a better hunter and build more confidence going in the season, but hey, let's face it, some really good eating venison that you can put on the grill, have some friends over, have a great time, and celebrate the harvest at the beginning of the season, hopefully in the middle of the season and the end. And that goes back to our last point, shooting does in particular. I love to shoot does early in the season, late in the season. As it gets closer to gun season, the rut, I avoid shooting does unless I have a buck on the ground, because I don't want that intrusion. I don't want that disruption of shooting a doe. The worst thing you do, I've had some clients that shot 3 does on opening day one year of gun season, 5 does the next year on opening day, and then they wonder where all the deer are for the gun season. But you're shooting does at the wrong time. So think about shooting early. Some of your states like Michigan, you have the early season youth hunts. That's this would be an awesome opportunity for a youth hunter in this location. It's easy for them, have a doe coming in and build some confidence for the future. But think about taking an early season doe, enjoying your bow season, and not only get to enjoy that meat, but build your hunting skill and your confidence for later on when the big monster buck comes into bow range this fall. I'm excited to tell you guys about my latest web class. It's how to plant food plots, how to design your food plot program, and it covers everything. And really, there's 30 videos, over 10 hours, 11 hours of footage, workbook, hats, all that stuff. On top of it, I urge you to check out the link. But I cover 5 main areas: critical food plot concepts, where to plant, how to create, what to plant, and finally how to plant. It takes you through that step by step so you can make your own decisions that apply to you and build a great high quality food plot program this year, whether you have decades of experience or no experience at all.